I think we can go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody, and congratulations. We're super excited to have you. I'll hand things over to Mike if you want to start to congratulate everyone.
No, absolutely. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to attend the session. First and foremost, we'll echo what Victoria said, which is congratulations on being accepted into the program. We really had an exceptional class that applied to the program, and I think I just think the world of the people that got accepted. So thank you so much for your application. Congratulations on being accepted. And really, today what we're trying to do is just kind of cover really whatever topics that you would like to cover, and also offer up. I've been doing a ton of one-on-one sessions, which I'm happy to do. It's really easy for you to just reach out to me. And I think I've reached out to everybody, at least from the list of people that that I see on the participants. I've reached out to all of you and would welcome a one-on-one conversation to really address whatever issue. Because what I found is that with the conversations, definitely everybody has a unique perspective, a unique outcome. So we're going to cover the high-level stuff, which will probably help you. But then again, I'm just delighted to spend more time with you in a one-on-one perspective, and I'm totally open to do that. And I know with the time zone issues, I've been doing a lot of early morning stuff and late evening stuff, so happy to do it, whatever. So anyways, let's go to the agenda on the next slide. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover a few things that we think are important to you. So first, what I'm going to do is kind of go through the program details and then talk about specific outcomes. I'm just a huge fan of outcomes, which basically means like when you apply to the program, what do you want to get out of the program? Because we have a general sense of some of the outcomes that that students are looking for, and so I just wanted to be able to frame those outcomes to you, and then kind of go through and describe how our program is designed to be able to do that. And then what I'll do is I'll turn over to Victoria for any of the next steps with regards to being able to start looking at housing and things along those lines. So if we go to the next slide, let's start where we always usually start, which is the program goals. So obviously what we're very focused on is what I would say is more like the computational engineering. It's really interesting because I've spent a lot of time helping people with their applications and talking about the program, because you can do like AI ML type of master's programs, but typically where we're differentiated is for us, it's really within the computational engineering side. So that's what we saw in your application, is you all seem to have a really good focus on that. So what we typically like to give you is really a lot of information on or a lot of insight into data-driven simulation, data modeling, be it finite element analysis, and the big thing is artificial intelligence, machine learning. That is the core part of what we do. And then there's also, quite honestly, a lot that has to be done in terms of the data science side. So we really try to give you a perspective on that. So really, when we think about the program, it's heavy emphasis on computational engineering, and then focusing on those specific skills. Now, if we go to the next slide to talk about outcomes, we'll go program. So basically, with the student experience and outcomes, what we typically find is that there's two major outcomes that people are trying to go towards. The first one is to get a job either in industry or in research. So the idea is you've got your undergraduate concentration, and you need the master's to help you obtain a position in industry or in doing research. So that's quite honestly, when we designed the program, we thought that was going to be the vast majority. We probably thought around like anywhere from like 60 to 80% of people would go on the professional side. Then there's also the concept of, well, this is like dipping your toe into the PhD program, or very aggressively knowing that you want to do the PhD program, but you didn't get into the PhD program that you wanted coming out of undergrad. And so what we find is that that is certainly a very important outcome for a lot of people. And once again, we thought it was going to be like 30 to 40% would do the PhD program. Now that we've had a number of cohorts go through the program, the numbers are different than what we expected. We have roughly 64% of the students go on for a PhD program, and then the remainder going into industry. So the PhD programs they go into, a lot of them go into Brown. We've had a ton of people stay at Brown. They also go into we've had Columbia, we've had MIT, we've had Penn, we've had a number of different PhD programs where the students have gotten into. So we've been a bit surprised by that. And actually, you know, the interesting thing is you can come into this program feeling like, let's say you're going to go professional, but then decide that you want to do a PhD program. In fact, I had one of the students that is in their second semester, and all of a sudden she actually came to the program. She was CS concentrator undergrad, came in with the idea of going to do computational fluid dynamics, to go into a Formula One team. So she definitely wanted to go into the professional side. But then she took a fluids class that she just absolutely fell in love with. So she pinged me this week and said, like, I think I want to change it to a PhD program. And so we spent some time. I talked about what a PhD program is all about, and then now I gave her a list of professors to go talk to see if during the summer she can work in one of the labs to then pivot away from going to a Formula One team into really going into a program on it's going to be fluid dynamics is really where she wants to work. So she's looking at trying to find that experience. So I've helped her like kind of craft the letter to the professors, and then she has a discussion this afternoon. So this morning at 9 a.m. we got together and I prepped her on how to approach that discussion. So the idea is like with all of this stuff, you know, you can come into the program with one idea, and we build in the flexibility where if any point in time you need to switch, that's fine too. Let's go to the next slide. So clearly, given the fact that students change their mind or do different things, it's always nice for you to really develop relationships with the faculty, because that's the thing is we're a relatively small program. We have pretty large amount of faculty that are that participate in the program. So I'm just a huge fan of students really spending time with the faculty. In fact, I would say if there's one complaint that I have is that students do not bug the professors as much as they should, or bug me as much as they should. So I'm just a huge fan of students really developing relationships while they're here. And even for me, I have a lot of relationships that go beyond when they graduate. And so I was just talking this week to somebody who works at Google who was a master's student that I had, and she's deciding whether she's going to continue to stay in the AI/ML world or migrate over to cloud computing, and thinking about that. So I like to stay involved with the students after they graduate. But anyway, so the faculty, we have just amazing faculty members that you want to spend time with. So on the next slide. So obviously that leads into program advising, because what's a little bit different about Brown is there's no curriculum. Like we don't have mandatory classes. We're kind of the home of the open curriculum, meaning that you get to pick your path, which I know for many STEM concentrators it's a bit jarring going from your undergrad experience where there's a lot of requirements to then going into the master's program where, we have some traditional paths that people take, but at the end of the day, you curate your own path. And like quite honestly, every semester you can change it based upon which classes you like, which classes you don't like. You can always continue to modify your path. And as long as you get your academic advisor to approve it, you're pretty much good to go. So let's go to the next slide. So basically, the way it works is it's typically a fall intake. So you'd start this fall. We have some people that start in the spring. It's flexible. We can do that if you need that. That is no problem. You just need to reach out to me and let me know. And then what's unique with us is fundamentally you have to take 8 courses, which here at Brown that translates to 8 credits over a maximum of 4 semesters. People have done it in 2 semesters. People have done it in 3 semesters. They've also done 4 semesters. So once again, it's kind of your choice as to which way you want to do it. We have like a thesis option and then a non-thesis option. Those are the 2 major options. The thesis option is really for people who want to go on for a PhD. And typically, when you're doing the thesis option, many times you want to do research. We actually allow you for 2 of the 8 courses, you can be conducting research. So the idea is that you're doing research for your thesis, and that counts as 2 of your courses. So that's a nice addition. And basically, what happens is then either your thesis director, your academic director, or some other professor in the School of Engineering or School of Computer Science or School of Applied Math would be your advisor. Because I've done that with a number of students where I'm their advisor. Because actually, I'm just finishing up one that's just done over 2 semesters. So they definitely did the 2 course credits. So that's what happens with the thesis option. The non-thesis option is typically for the people who want to go into professional side. Now, actually, for the thesis, there are some situations where you can do a thesis if you want to go into, let's say, maybe a research lab, or even in certain careers, they do like the fact that you're focused on a thesis and you focus on specific area of research. But once again, that's kind of your call. And then with the non-thesis option, let's say if you're going for a professional job, we have a little bit of a different opportunity, and that's a kind of like a co-op experience. So you can take 1 course credit where you actually go work for somebody, typically over like the fall or the spring semester. And then what happens is you can actually get to receive the compensation from that company, and then you also get course credit for that as well. And that is, I think it's 2962 or something like that. So that's a course that you can take. So that gives you some flexibility to really, because then what you can do is you almost get like a summer internship as an experience, professional experience, and then you can also get some type of professional experience while you're in the academic calendar year, the fall or the spring semester. Now, typically our prereqs, we don't have many. We do normally focus on STEM, and I would say the vast majority of people that apply to the program are STEM. But we're open to other people who, let's say they graduate with some other concentration, and once again, as long as they can convince us that they're ready for the academic rigor of the program, we're happy to let them in. But we've actually this time we've gotten actually a really good mix, probably a heavier mix than previous years on CS concentrators. Then I would say probably, well, it's really tied. Then it's tied between engineering and math. So we do get a lot of math people that sign up for the program as well. So let's go to the next slide. So as we've talked about, what's a bit different too about us is we actually like for you to experience different departments. So many times when you go into a master's of engineering, you can only take courses from the School of Engineering. But we actually like you to take courses from School of Engineering, Applied Math, Computer Science. It doesn't make a difference to us. And in fact, we mandate that you take so many from each of these different areas. And then once again, if there's other courses outside of these departments, as long as your academic advisor. So now, the other thing that we allow you to do is, since we're very close to RISD, because it's like integrated almost into the Brown campus on Providence and on College Hill. You can take RISD classes, and then you can also take Harvard. Harvard has an excellent School of Engineering, and they've got some really great courses. So you can take one credit from those programs as well. You just have to cross-register. But we've got a great relationship with with both of those schools. And I've actually had a lot of RISD students. I've taught a lot of RISD students, and they're amazing. So let's go to the next slide. So we kind of talked about these different program tracks that you can be in, but happy to go into more detail one-on-one. So we have the non-thesis option, the thesis option, and then the professional option, which is typically tied into the non-thesis option. But it kind of goes back to what I talked about earlier, where you've got with your thesis option, you've got some courses and research that you can do. With the non-thesis professional, that's where you can do the paid or unpaid internship. But once again, they all require 8 courses. There is flexibility as to how many semesters that you take to get your degree. But at the end of the day, you can take 8 to graduate. You can actually take more courses. You just have to pay for them, because I get that question every now and again. So let's go to the next slide. So I think I pretty much covered all the non-thesis option. We do get into what we call it, like the terminology of, like the 1-year completion, which is the 4-4 model, meaning you take 4 classes your first semester, 4 classes your second semester, and off you go. I haven't seen. I'm trying to think if I've seen anybody do that. I don't think I've seen that. Usually they finish in 3 semesters or 4 semesters. So you go to like a 3-3-2 model, or you could do like a 3-4-1 model. It's really up to you as to what you're trying to do, and so much of it really comes down to the specific outcome that you're looking for. Let's go to the next slide. So this is a thesis option, and once again, you've got the engineering 2980, which is a course where you can receive research credit for what you're going to be doing. And then you actually do have to defend your thesis at the end of it, because I think this cohort, it's about roughly half are doing the thesis option. So that's where we stand right now. So next slide. So this is the completion requirements. So we've been harping on the 8 course requirements, or 8 credits, or 8 courses that you need to complete. Then we say minimum 2 from engineering, 2 from applied math, and then 2 that are in more of the computer science side of the world. And then you can really pick the 2 additional courses really from either any of those 3 departments or other departments within Brown University. We're very flexible, and that's kind of what we're known for, and that is a big differentiator for us. Go to the next slide. So we have put in some sample plans for like all the different options. I'm not going to go through any of them, but it's just an example of what we found for that students have taken. Now, at the end of the day, these are sample plans. Really, I think the key thing that you need to do is probably, like when you accept and start thinking about coming here, is go to courses at Brown to really see all of the classes that are available to you, and then start crafting your plan. And even coming into the program with maybe even like 2 to 3 different plans, or flavor of plans, or 3 to 5 different plans. I think it's always good to start playing around with the different courses as early as you can, just to kind of get a sense. And once again, you'll get, like, let's say you come in, you say, okay, this is my plan. I want to do solids. I want to focus in on solids, the computational engineering and solids. And this is great. But then if you decide all of a sudden that you want to migrate into, in this case, like fluids, great. You can migrate into fluids. That's like no big deal. And you really, once again, you can do it anytime during the semester, anytime as you switch semesters. So, and we have, I'd say probably 60% of people, they nail it the first time we go around. 40%, they change it all the time. So it really depends upon where you're at, and there's no one right answer. It's really more whatever you're flexible with. Let's go through. I think we might have more. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all these, but obviously we will email this presentation out to you. So if you want to look at this in more detail, That's great. And once again, if you want to call me up and say that you have something that's different, we can set up a Zoom session where we can go through whatever your outcome is and then try to think about different courses that would line up with that outcome. Next slide. Now we'll go next slide. Yeah, so we presented a tremendous number of options for you. So once again, just to give you a sense of what's the art of the possible, but certainly it doesn't cover everything. So now I'll turn it over to Victoria.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. So my name is Victoria Bray. I am the Associate Director of Graduate Enrollment, and I'm here to talk to you more about sort of the broad resources that we offer to master's students at Brown University through our Center for Master's Student Excellence. I will say that one of the things that really sets Brown apart in the landscape of master's programs and institutions is that we have dedicated resources for our master's students, specifically in recognition of the fact that our master's students are with us for 1, maybe 2 years, much less time than we would have an undergraduate or a PhD student. So we understand you really need to hit the ground running to identify resources and be able to be successful in your career search and while you're at Brown. So that being said, let's talk a little bit more about career support for master's students. So Mike already talked quite a bit about the really excellent outcomes that come out of our School of Engineering programs and DECES specifically. Part of the work that the Division of Master's Programs does through the Center of Master's Student Excellence is to provide career resources broadly. So while your department is a great resource, you've got folks who are coming from industry who are teaching you. You got folks who are really experienced in the field, but then we in the Division of Master's Programs have staff who are there specifically to help with that career journey. So anything from workshops on job searches, resume, cover letter writing, using AI in your job search process to your advantage, working with departments on STEM specific career advising. We have a dedicated staff member who's there to help our students who are interested in STEM fields. And then also at Brown, we have layers of support, right? So along with that Division of Master's Program, Center for Master's Student Excellence, career support. We also have Handshake. We have job and internship opportunities posted there. We have a really extensive alumni network, a really involved alumni network at Brown. So if you're a Brown student, of course, you get access to that as well. And then folks coming to campus to recruit for their companies, job fairs, and things like that. So it's really a lot going on in terms of career support and professional development. And that also includes after you land a job, doing salary negotiations, making sure that you're getting what you're worth, making sure that you understand what that package looks like. That's really what our team is there to support you with. And then we also have a specific student affairs team there for our master's students. So helping folks get outside of their programs, network with folks in different programs. Our staff works specifically with master's students, putting on social networking events to help maximize your time here. So they're also there to help you connect you with important university resources. So the centers and offices on campus, if you're interested in the Sarah Doyle Center for Women, that's a great example of an office that we partner with quite a bit on our activities. There's also some other offices like OISSS, our Office of International Student and Scholar Services, who we partner with. So really trying to connect you with folks across campus who are there to help serve you while you're at Brown, and then during times of need. So if there's ever something that comes up and you need an accommodation in the classroom, we have emergency funding available. You'll go through our student affairs team in the Center for Master Student Excellence to get those resources. I do want to talk for a minute about housing, since I know that that can be a really fraught topic for folks who are looking to move to the area. I will say that if you go to your admitted student portal, we have recordings of all of our previous Belong at Brown sessions, and we specifically did Belong at Brown with our housing folks to talk about graduate student housing. So there's a couple of different ways you can find housing. One is through River House, and the other is through auxiliary housing. That's Brown affiliated housing for graduate students. It's on a first come, first served basis. The application is open and the waitlist is open for both of those types of housing. You have to be a matriculated student in order to take advantage of that. So to be able to get put on that waitlist, you have to first pay your enrollment fee for your program at Brown. But the vast majority of students live in off-campus housing. Graduate student housing that's affiliated with Brown is pretty limited. There are quite a few apartments in Providence and the area surrounding College Hill where you'll be taking classes. And if you are in contact with current students at Brown through our graduate student listserv, there's a lot of sublets that get posted throughout the summer to be able to take over. Next steps, of course, you can register for upcoming events. We're sort of winding down as the enrollment deadline passes, or enrollment deadlines pass, I should say. You can, of course, connect with us at masters_admissions at brown.edu or Engine Grad. We're all very much available to answer any questions that you might have. And then your enrollment deposit is due by May 1st. Here are some ways you can connect on social media with the School of Engineering, get a sense of a day in the life of what a Brown master's student might look like. And then here's that contact information again. So we'd love to answer any questions that you folks have if you want to start to add those to the chat. I see that Mike added his email address. I will add mine as well, in case anything comes up after the session. So any questions? Give folks a minute to add them to the chat.
Yeah, and I would say first and foremost, you're admitted to the program, so you can really ask any question. It's not like we're gonna take away your acceptance, because I know certainly with all the discussions I've had, I mean, this is a huge decision for you, and we believe it's a very important decision. And at the end of the day, for me, I just want you to have perfect information as you make the decision. So even if you feel uncomfortable like asking the question, but it's really important, you definitely should. Now, once again, if you want to have a private conversation, that's why gave you my email, my Brown email address, so that then we can spend the time with you. And once again, for me, like I like hard questions. I like difficult questions. It's challenging. So definitely do it, because I've been, spending a lot of time actually gathering information and data to be able to give, because some people's like, well, what types of companies do you do? Where do you have relationships with? So I put some stuff together and I sent it out to people. So we continue, and probably I will be sending out some additional stuff, because there were some common themes to some of the questions that I had. So I'm putting together information. Then I'll send it out to all the accepted students. So as part of that, you will definitely get that. So you'll get some more information this week. But feel free to ask whatever question you want. You can't really offend me. I don't really get offended by questions.
One question that came in advance of the session was about the co-op program. And I didn't know if you wanted to elaborate a little bit more about the co-op program in the School of Engineering.
Yeah, no, that's great. Great question. I would say number one, it's a really important program to us. We actually assign a professor that focuses. Ted Tracy is a professor that he came from. Actually, was on our corporate advisory board for School of Engineering. He's now coming over. He's teaching in engineering, and then he actually works on the ECE master's program, but he is using his industry connections to be able to do that. So the idea is you have Ted Tracy to help you find the internship. You also have the resources that Victoria was showing about from the SBS department. And actually, one of the things that SBS has been excellent partners. What we plan to do, actually, it's a great question. We're planning to, when you get to campus, and this is what I've been pushing, is that we're going to enroll you in like a mini get a job camp. Especially for the people that want to get into the professional side. So like in August and September, where it's probably about 6 week effort, 6 to 8 week effort, where we're going to give you the basics of getting a job in the United States and really take you through all the different capabilities of what's there, the different companies, get you ready for getting your resume complete, your LinkedIn profile complete, getting ready for the interviews and actually doing some of the mock interviews, and really make it so that you have a very specific experience, so that you go into the session or into the process of getting a job and you're ready for that. Because I'm always a big fan of, like, to get a job, you need to think about it as like a one credit course. So that's critically important, and you need to put the time in for that. So that's the idea right now. For us, it's a huge effort. We're investing actually a lot of resources and dollars to be able to do that. So that's the details there. Now, additionally, it's interesting because on top of that, for the people that want to do PhD programs, we're actually going to do the same thing. We're going to offer up a session of like how to like demystify the application process to the PhD, because I do see we have some questions on that in here. So I'll go on to that next. But the idea is similar thought process in terms of how do you get into PhD programs. I actually spent a ton of time helping people get into PhD programs. And like I was talking about this, the individual this morning, where she doesn't even know what a PhD is, and all of a sudden now has thought about like, oh, I want to get one. And so it's like, okay, great. Well, now let's start talking about that. So typically, it's a very different thought process. Some of the things are similar to getting a job, where like relationships matter a ton, and building the relationships during your 2 years or 3 semesters is really important. So in terms of typically after finishing the program at Brown, how many semesters would it take to finish the course requirement for a PhD program? I think part of that is really negotiating with the PhD program. So for example, like with the one student that I was talking about this morning, so she in the DECES program, computational engineering, then her area that she wants to go into is computational fluids. And so there's like 8 professors that she can choose from. So we went through this morning, talked about the different research that she had. The good news actually is the idea is she was taking a class with one of the professors. So the professor got to know her, because that's where I said, okay, going into this discussion, does the professor know you? She goes, yes. And I go, okay, great. Well, what's their impression? She goes, well, I'm getting an A in the class. Like, even better. So then the idea is, if she could get and do some research in his lab while she's here, and then and actually we started talking about the specific, we're getting attached to, because there's research that they just won from Department of Defense, which isn't on the cutting blocks or isn't being threatened by the Trump administration. So that money's good. So I said, why don't you go for that? And then start talking to the professor. So she'll meet with them later this afternoon. And then it's really going to be up to that professor to decide, like, because actually, and this is what's interesting here at Brown, the courses that you'll take, they're both PhD level courses and master's level courses. So actually the class that she's in, she's the only master's student in that course, and there's 6 other PhD students in the course. So that's what's a little bit different with Brown, is that you get that intermixing, which is a little bit unusual in terms of doing that. So now she's going to go and try to do, because really what I told her to do, she's got to ask if he'd help her get into the PhD program. So if he gets into his PhD program, then I think there's going to be more flexible. Now, if she goes and applies to like MIT or Stanford or some other PhD program, then it's probably the normal length of time that you would take for a PhD program. So it's variable, but that's kind of the different approach with regards to the PhD program. But I'm a big fan of, like, and I know who's asking this question, like, we'll sit down at the beginning because you've already accepted to come here. So we're happy to spend time over the summer with you, giving you a little bit of the secret handshake as to what it takes to get into PhD program. And then if you want to shorten it to be able to do it. Now, the one thing actually she didn't realize is with a PhD program, you don't have to actually pay tuition, and you actually get compensated. I think it's like $56,000 a year is what you get compensated. So it's not, you can probably make more money in the industry, but if you want to go into the PhD program, you at least get compensation. You can live off that. So that's a PhD program. How many courses can we select from the computer science section? Well, I think I'll start off with as many as your academic advisor will approve. So, okay, you could technically, if the academic advisor approves it, 8, they could all come from QCS. Certainly at a bare minimum, you could do 4 because you've got the 2 that you can take from the computer science, and then you can do the two optional ones. So it's and then if you want to go even, well, the bare minimum is I guess two, so you can go. But if you want to take four, that'd be easy to do. If you want to take eight, then you're going to have to convince your academic advisor. And I haven't seen anybody do that yet, because you've got Yuri, who's on the engineering school, so he'll probably force you to take a couple engineering ones, and then George, who's on the applied math side, so he'll probably want you to take a couple applied math ones. So you may have that. So anyways, that's the question on the computer. These are great questions, and these are new ones too. Can we take classes on top of the 8 mandatory courses? Yes, of course. Yeah, you can take really as many classes you want. The only thing is you just have to pay for those extra classes. That's the only thing. So it does require, but we have had students that want to do that because they really want to maximize it as part of what they're doing to really explore this. Because once you start looking at Canvas, you're going to see like there's a ton of courses. There's an absolute ton of courses that you can take. And once again, it's the difference with our program is like, okay, you have a cohort of students, and once again, we have a small cohort. There'll probably be 20 to 30 students, maybe even a little bit less. We don't have any specific number in mind. But the idea is you come into the program, you get to know the people in your cohort, and we do social stuff within the cohort. But then we also go beyond the cohort. So just like the one student that I talked about, who I met with this morning, where she decides she want to do this. It was basically complicated fluid dynamics is I think the title of the course. She's once again the only computational engineering person in there. It's all PhD students. And so she's making friends with all the PhD students. So that's a good opportunity for her to do that. So you can really go into a number of different areas that are not obvious in terms of what you want to do. So great question. Okay, so what is it? The typical class size, excellent question. Typical class size is like, so for example, like the one I was just talking about, it's 6 students. So I typically say the typical class size is around, like roughly 10 to 15. But yeah, there are some that like this. I don't know if there's anybody on the call that wants to do like complicated fluid dynamics. But you're certainly you'll get that approved. Like that'll be no problem. So that's going to be a more specialty class that's a little bit smaller. And then there are ones that are, I don't think, I've never seen anything, 20 would be a big class size. I haven't seen anything beyond 20. But that's typically, because these are, once again, we're a small school, small program. So yeah, like a 20-person PhD master's class, that'd be pretty big. So you really get to know the professor. And actually that's a nice thing, with the one student I was talking about because I said, well, how well do you know the professor? And she goes, really well. So that's good. But then I said, okay, well, does the professor know you want to do a PhD? And she goes, no, he doesn't. I go, okay, well, you might want to lead with that piece. But so there's some new information she'll provide to that. So great question on that. If I've answered, I think I've answered most of the questions. These are great questions.
Yeah, that's all the questions we've gotten.
Well, listen, thanks again for taking time out of your busy schedule. We really appreciate that. And once again, I've given you my email address, so feel free to reach out to me. And if you want one-on-one time, happy to schedule some Zoom. I think I've got like 5 or 6 Zoom sessions scheduled this week. I think like 15 last week. So I'm more than happy to jump on the call or on Zoom to just really, let's see. For the people, if you're interested about scholarship opportunities, definitely send me an email. I'm happy to, what I want to do is talk to you about that in a Zoom session. So definitely, I don't usually give the amount out via these sessions or in email. I'd really want to talk to you about it. So thanks for that question. But once again, happy to chat with you. We all know it's a big decision for you. We want to get you as much information as you need to make the decision. But once again, I would say congratulations into getting into the program. You should be very proud, very happy, because it's hard to get into this program. It's not easy. That is for sure. The academic directors they're pretty rigorous when they go through the applications. And I've also advocated for people as part of the application process, but at the end of the day, they're pretty tough. But anyways, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Congratulations.